Facebook ads experts have lied to you. They've told you things about Facebook ads that simply aren't true. In this video, I'm going to explain what those lies are and what the truth actually is and what you should be doing with your Facebook ads based on the correct information. So let's start with the first lie, and that's that you need to spend a lot of money on Facebook ads and Instagram ads to see great results. There's this myth out there that once you just reach a certain spend amount, your cost per result, your cost per conversion will all of a sudden plummet. Facebook will reward you for that. And that's just simply not true. In fact, you often see your best cost per result, best cost per conversion at lower budget levels. As you scale, your costs are likely to increase on a per conversion, per result, whatever it is you're optimizing for basis. And we can see this, right? Meta provide this information. This is a Facebook ad account here, and we can see this is actually a engagement campaign, and it's got a straight line graph. So the more you spend, the more engagements you get, but it's proportional. So your cost per engagement is likely to be relatively similar. If this was actually a conversions campaign, we would see that the more you spend, the higher your cost per conversion is likely to be. Now, of course, the more you spend, the more results you will get, but in terms of your actual cost per sale, cost per lead, whatever it happens to be, that's not going to improve if you just spend enough. It's not how it works at all. Forget about that. It's very important that your campaigns can produce a profitable cost per lead, a profitable cost per sale at lower budget levels before you go and scale. Don't think that scaling is going to help you achieve that. It's just not going to happen that way. The next Facebook ads lie that I want to cover is around targeting. A lot of people trying to sell you courses on targeting or software that helps you find great targeting options. Those people often say or make out that there is this magical, almost mystical targeting audience out there, and you just need to find them. And once you find the right people, your campaigns will perform incredibly well. You won't believe the results, but you can't find them with the regular ads manager setup and being able to find targeting options through their suggestions and things like that. You need this special way of doing it, and it's just not true. Targeting is actually one of the more simple elements of a Facebook ad campaign. If you at least know what you're doing to some extent, if you've been through my videos on targeting, your targeting is almost certainly fine. The thing that separates average advertisers from great advertisers is far more likely to be ad creative and your offer. Those are far more important in terms of reaching those higher levels. Now, that's not to say that you don't need to use the right targeting and that you should never test targeting options. You should, but it's just not that hard to work out. And it's very unlikely that if you've been through a few rounds of testing, you've tested out lookalike audience, various interests and things like that, that you haven't found the best possible audiences for your campaigns. If you've put a bit of time and effort into that and gone through a month or so of testing different targeting options, you've probably got that part worked out, and you should be focusing elsewhere and be very skeptical of the people that tell you that there's these magical audiences out there. You just need to find them. We hear it. It's so pervasive in this community. We hear it from our clients even, where they will say things like, I feel like we're just not reaching the right people. If we could reach the right people, everything would just take off. It's a lie. Liar! I can see why people have said it, and they've used that to help market their own stuff. It's unfortunate, but it's just not true. Facebook advertising lie number 3 is that unless you have high quality video ads to use, there's no point running ads on the platform. And that's simply not true. Yes, video ads work best for some businesses, but not all, and not even most. There's lots of scenarios where you want to use different ad formats, where you want to use image ads, carousel ads, collection ads, and I've got Facebook support doc up here around the different ad formats, and you click through these tabs, you can see that Meta are telling us you want to use this type of ad in this scenario, this type of ad in this scenario. Video ads, for example, tend to work best for ads that are advertising something a little bit more complex. It needs a bit more explaining. Perhaps you need a relationship really building between you and the person. This would be B2B services, for example, or anything high-end and technical and complicated. But for lots of other businesses where you want your audience to be able to glance at your ad, very quickly and easily understand what it's for, in those scenarios, image ads, simple carousel ads can work very well and often work better than video. It's a much smaller ask of your audience. So very, very important for you to test different Facebook ad formats, find out which works best for you and your business. And don't become disheartened if you don't have the capability yourself or the budget to be able to produce high quality video ads. It can be difficult, it can be expensive, but it's not a barrier to entry. Video ads is not the be all end all of Facebook and Instagram advertising. You can see great results with other ad formats. It's a really important thing for people to know. The fourth Facebook ads lie that I want to tell you about is that Facebook and Instagram advertising is only suitable for e-commerce businesses, only people that are selling physical products, often quite simple, easy to purchase products. It doesn't work for anything, any service-based businesses, any local businesses, anything that's more complex, and that's absolutely not the case. And to demonstrate why, and actually it may even be the reverse. I've got some examples I'm going to show in terms of numbers and specific return on ad spend numbers that we often see with the two different business types. So let's assume we've got an e-commerce business, we're running a Facebook and Instagram ad campaign, and we're coming out with a cost per purchase of say £20. That's not unusual. And let's say that our average order value, how much each person is then going on to spend, is about £80. Well, that obviously means that we're going to be looking, if I divide this by this, at a 4x return on ad spend, which would be pretty good for most e-commerce businesses. Would be pretty happy with a 4x return on ad spend. Even once you factor in the cost of the goods themselves, you're still going to likely be nicely profitable on that campaign. But for every £20 we spend, once you factor in, let's say a £40 cost of goods on the actual product, you might be looking at £20 profit. So you're doubling your money, which would be great, but that's typical for e-commerce. Now, when it comes to a service-based business, we might be looking at something a bit more like this. Now let's assume again, it's a £20 cost per lead. Often leads are a bit cheaper than purchases, but let's assume it's £20 cost per lead. And let's assume that you convert 1 in 10. So you've got a 10% conversion rate, which again is pretty low. We'd like to think that most people generating leads on Facebook and Instagram would then go on to convert leads at a higher percentage rate than 10%. But let's go with the pessimistic side of things. Now let's assume that the average order value is £5,000. Again, not unrealistic in the slightest. There are lots of service providers, we work with lots that offer services that cost significantly more than that. Some of course cost less, but anything to do with people's home, anything to do with a lot of B2B services, all going to be relatively expensive. Okay, what does our ROAS number come out at now? So if we divide this by that and then times by that, we get a number of 25. So it's costing us £20 cost per lead. We only convert 1 in 10, so it's effectively £200 per new customer acquired, but we're generating £5,000 when we do so. So our ROAS number comes out at 25. Of course, there's going to be some costs associated with delivering that service, just like there are with selling the product. But it is not uncommon in the slightest to see ROAS numbers for a service-based business of 25, 30, even higher, because the average order value tends to be much, much higher. But in terms of this front end generating a lead, doesn't cost much more than say generating a sale. So I absolutely want to dispel the myth that Facebook and Instagram advertising only works for e-commerce businesses. The businesses that see the best results have the highest average customer value. They're often service-based businesses. So if you have a service business, local business, anything more expensive, more complex, don't think that you can only sell simple pieces of clothing or jewelry or whatever you typically see on the platform. That's a big lie, and one that costs a lot of businesses operating in the service space out on a big opportunity. Facebook ads line number 5 is that you need to use complex sales funnels with multiple steps in order to see great results with Facebook ads and Instagram ads, and that's not true. A lot of the clients that we're currently running campaigns for, we use very simple sales funnel structures where it might even be a direct to offer structure. So directly from a Facebook Instagram ad campaign to a landing page or a sales page, and people convert there. And it's absolutely fine to start there. That's where I'd recommend most Facebook advertisers start. When you use more complex sales funnels, which we do, there are certain times where that's appropriate. I'm going to explain more about that in a minute. You add in a lot of complexity, you add in a lot of extra steps, and you add in a lot of potential points of failure. There are many more chances for things to go wrong. If you've got a 7-step sales funnel, unless you know what you're doing at each stage, just one of them could be wrong, and that could take down the whole thing. So it's absolutely fine to start with a simple sales funnel. Once you want to move on to more complexity, which I'll explain about in a second, then you can do so. And before we get into that, I just want to quickly let you know about my company, Lead Guru, which is a specialist Facebook and Instagram ad agency. We create, manage, and optimize Facebook and Instagram ad campaigns for our clients in a full done-for-you service package. If that sounds something you'd be interested in, you can click on a link in the video description below. That'll take you to a page on our website. You can book in a call with one of my team members, find out more about our service, see if we'd be a good fit to work together. And if you do feel ready to use a more sophisticated Facebook ad sales funnel, I check out this video here. In it, I demonstrate my omnipresence content strategy in detail. It's the best YouTube video I've created, and I think you're going to find it really helpful.